Have you ever felt like the modern workplace wants a very specific version of you? You know, a louder, faster, more on version? Well, if you have, you are definitely not alone. There's a quiet revolution happening right now, and it's making us rethink everything we thought we knew about work, about burnout, and about what it really means to be confident. So let's dig into why this is happening and what it means for all of us.
It's the big question, right? So many of us are asking it, feeling more drained than ever before. But the answer isn't just about the long hours or the crazy workloads. No, it goes way deeper than that, right into the very culture of our workplaces and the specific personality traits that we've been taught to admire.
So where does this whole problem even start? Well, for the better part of a century, our society has been running on this powerful, unspoken rule. To be successful, you have to be loud. It's this cultural bias that has quietly shaped everything from the way our schools are run to the dynamics in our boardrooms.
Author Susan Cain gave this a name, the extrovert ideal. It's this pervasive belief that the ideal person is a people person. You know, the life of the party, the assertive leader, someone who just loves the spotlight. This ideal values style over substance, speaking over listening, and taking action over deep contemplation. But what does that mean for the other half of us?
Okay, so this right here clears up a huge misconception. Being an introvert isn't about being antisocial. It's actually about biology. It all comes down to how your nervous system responds to stimulation. See, introverts get their energy from quieter, less stimulating settings. Extroverts, they thrive in more social, bustling environments. One isn't better than the other, it's just different wiring.
And it's also really important to get this next part. Introversion is not the same thing as shyness. An introvert might absolutely love a deep, one-on-one chat, but feel totally drained by a loud party. Shyness, though, that's different. That's the fear of being judged negatively by others. You can be a shy extrovert, or you can be a very confident introvert. They're two completely different things.
And this quote, this gets right to the heart of why the extrovert ideal is so flawed. We've all been kind of conditioned to think that the person who talks first and loudest in a meeting probably has the best idea. But the research is crystal clear. They often don't. And that one flawed assumption has some pretty major consequences.
So what happens when you design an entire world for only one type of personality? Well, you get a system where millions of people feel like they have to perform a role that goes against their very nature, day in and day out. And that constant performance, well, it comes with a very high price.
84%. According to a Deloitte survey, that's how many American workers say they've experienced job-related burnout. And we're not just talking about feeling tired. This is a state of deep emotional and physical exhaustion, often paired with a complete loss of motivation. And this epidemic is directly connected to the environments we're working in.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. It's backed by some serious data. A study from the University of Nevada, Reno found a direct, measurable link between workplaces that are built to reward extroversion and rising rates of employee burnout. Think about it. Open-plan offices, constant meetings, the pressure to always be selling yourself, it all adds up.
Okay, so here's the proof from that study. Look at the chart on the left. You can see a really clear trend. The more introverted a person is, the higher their risk of burnout. But now look at the chart on the right. This is the real shocker. The more a workplace demands extroversion, the higher the burnout rates for everyone, and that includes both introverts and extroverts. It's a truly toxic mix of personality and environment.
Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called counter-dispositional behavior. Just imagine an introvert who has to lead back-to-back brainstorming meetings all day long. Or flip it, an extrovert who's forced into silent, solitary data entry for hours. A little bit of this kind of acting is okay, but doing it constantly, that is a direct path to exhaustion and burnout.
So, how are people reacting to all this pressure and exhaustion? Well, one of the biggest trends to come out of this whole burnout culture is a phenomenon that you've probably heard of known as quiet quitting.
Now, quiet quitting isn't about actually leaving your job. It's more of a mental withdrawal. It means you clock in, you do exactly what's in your job description, no more, no less, and then you clock out. No more taking on extra projects, no more staying late, no more volunteering for things. It's a direct rebellion against that hustle culture that caused the burnout to begin with.
But is it actually a good strategy? Well, it's complicated. On the one hand, yeah, it's a pretty effective way to manage burnout and get your personal life back. But on the other hand, research shows that when we put in less effort, we often get less satisfaction and meaning from our work, which can be bad for our mental health in the long run. It's a coping mechanism, for sure, but maybe not a solution.
But what if the answer isn't to withdraw, but to just show up differently?
See, quiet quitting is a reactive move. But now, a more proactive, and I'd argue more powerful idea is starting to take hold, and it's called quiet confidence.
Quiet confidence is not about being shy or passive. Not at all. It's this deep sense of self-assurance that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. It's about steadiness over spectacle. It comes from an internal self-trust, not from a need for everyone else's approval. It doesn't perform, it just is.
The difference here is actually simple, but it's also profound. Quiet quitting is all about withdrawing your actions. It's defined by what you stop doing. Quiet confidence, on the other hand, is about your state of being. It's this source of inner strength that shapes how you act, how you speak, and how you lead.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, the quietly confident person is often the one in the meeting who's listening, really listening. They're comfortable with silence, giving others the space they need to think. They set boundaries not with some big dramatic fight, but with a simple, calm no. And when they finally do speak, it's with purpose. It's to add value, not just to fill the silence.
So, where does all of this leave us? We've looked at the problem of the extrovert ideal, the burnout it's causing, and how people are responding, from quitting to finding confidence. It all points to one really clear conclusion. We have to fundamentally rethink how we work.
And just to be super clear, the point here isn't to replace the extrovert ideal with some new introvert ideal. No way. The goal is balance. It's about creating workplaces where both introverts and extroverts are understood, they're valued, and they're given the environment they each need to do their absolute best work.
So how do we get there? We can start by challenging what Susan Cain calls the new groupthink. This means asking ourselves if open-plan offices are really helping. It means creating quiet zones where people can do focused, deep work. And it means realizing that true creativity often comes from solitude, not just from another endless brainstorming session.
This coach perfectly captures the power that we've been ignoring. In a world that is so full of noise, thoughtful silence actually becomes a form of power. The person who's been listening and processing and waiting for just the right moment to speak, they often have the most impactful thing to say.
And that brings us to the final question. For you, in your meetings, on your teams, in your life, who are the people that you might be tuning out simply because they aren't the loudest ones in the room? The quiet revolution isn't just about introverts finding their voice. It's about all of us learning to finally value the incredible power of listening.